Welcome to the Contributor Corner for Run Radio. Billie Wiegand with Mountain Pine Studios. You always have great tips for us. What do you have today?
Today, I would like to actually touch on policy and procedures and why it's so important to have them, even if you're in a creative service-based industry like photography, poetry, painting, anything like that. As a person coming out of their infancy stage for their business and someone who has been around the entrepreneurial stage for a better part of 7 years, there's a lot of things I've seen problems that have happened where they can easily be resolved if there was a policy or a procedures handbook written down somewhere that everyone can refer to. So I wanted to talk about that and the significance of it, and kind of just emphasize the sooner you have it done, the better off you're going to be in maybe a year, 2, 3, or really whenever the situation occurs. Because the point of having those written down is you're communicating an expectation. And I'm in a situation right now where it's just myself. I'm the one that's running around doing all the networking, marketing, things like that. But eventually, my business grows big enough to where I can hire someone who's maybe a 1099, a subcontractor, and they will still represent me. And I don't want that misrepresentation to happen to where it negatively impacts me as the person who's still going to be running around doing all that stuff. And I can, oh my goodness, there's stories I can talk about where things could have easily been resolved if there was a handbook. And it doesn't have to be, like, I don't know how to describe it. So in my field, I usually go off based on contracts because I'm a single person. Somebody who is wanting to build, going from a single self-employee to having multiple W-2s or 1099, really should build a handbook of sorts. And Jennifer Kornblum would be the person I would recommend to go to and talk about how to build it and how to protect yourself, protect your assets, just make sure everybody's rear ends are covered. So there was a situation that had occurred where another business owner had a bad employee. There was quite a bit of embezzlement going on. There was quite a bit of just bad stuff happening. And that individual had put in a 2 weeks, an unofficial 2 weeks, and try to collect unemployment from that situation. Well, obviously they couldn't. They chose to quit. They chose to leave. But there wasn't a handbook. There wasn't anything. There wasn't a system put in tracking any disciplinary action. There wasn't anything saying, oh yeah, you can up and leave and things like that. There just wasn't a system. And having that system, I think, is going to be most helpful when you are small. Just there's multiple cases where I've had where I'm like, okay, if I didn't have this in my contract, I would have been in not legal trouble, right, per se, but I could have been in a situation where that person could have negatively impacted my business. So that's one of the biggest things about having policies and procedures. And just it's something important to have, and it's really important to talk to a professional like Jennifer Kornblum. She's someone I highly recommend. I can sing all the praises to her because she just does phenomenal work. And emphasizes to the audience that if you're a small business owner, be sure you have your policies. Be sure you're able to cover yourself for any liability with your employees, or if you're working with equipment, like me, for example, that there is a expectation of what's going to happen if something were to break on scene, in your store, just anywhere. So that's talk to Jennifer Kornblum for more information.
Yes, yeah, she is great with knowing the law, especially for LLCs, small businesses, because it's not only protecting the business, but the clients and everybody involved.
Exactly.
Awesome. Thanks so much for sharing. You can learn more about Billie and Mountain Pine Studios and listen all week at runradio.net.